going on, guys? Aquan here, back in another video. Here today to give you my review of the long-awaited project from HBCU graduate Lady London called Soul. For a little bit of background, to talk about why this is such a long-awaited record, Lady London up to this point has has the if y'all know anything about cannabis from back in the 90s, well, it is kind of like the modern day version of cannabis, or has a lot of those cannabis tropes, where she had great freestyles, great features, and even had a really, really good mixtape, which is kind of surprising in this era, where she was just rapping over a bunch of other people's beats. But she didn't have a debut album out. And if you all know the story of cannabis, you know that while he had a lot of hype sort of building up, eventually when his debut album came out, it didn't hit as hard as his freestyles, his features, and his mixtapes hit, because even though he had the capability to rap and rap very well, the things like song structure, lyrical focus, album direction weren't really his strong suits. And so in the world of mainstream music, where you really only get 1 to 2 shots to really make it big, he wasn't able to succeed. And so ever since then, one of the interesting effects that he's had is that whenever there's an artist who comes out, like a Joyner Lucas, like a Lady London, who comes out with great freestyles, great covers, great features, we're all sort of waiting with tentative breath around whether or not they're going to come out with a good album. We really want them to succeed because we know that they're talented, but know that there's also a decent chance that they flounder due to their lacking of capabilities potentially in these other domains of music. I am very happy to report that is not the case with Lady London. She absolutely delivered on all of the promise that she had as an artist and more. And I would argue that she went out of her way to dispel any concerns about her ability to craft an album, provide lyrical focus. Specifically with this album, she went the conceptual route, which was a really interesting decision, given, again, we hadn't even seen her, besides a underwhelming collab tape, we hadn't even really seen her come out with a regular project. So to go straight to the ambition of a collab tape, not collab tape, but a concept record, was an interesting move. And it had me both concerned for the reasons I just, discussed, but also somewhat excited because it was based off of zodiac signs. The reason I was excited is because that means that the album can at most be 13 to 14 songs. And we got a short, perfect 13. Well, I shouldn't say short, but because 13 is like the perfect length, a perfect length album, right? And I was overall really impressed with this record. Overall, it was a very R&B centric rap fusion record, going over or regaling the tales of what it's like to love the different zodiac signs. And so yeah, let's get into it. And I think I'll get some of the prelims out the way, and then we'll go straight into the writing, which I think, and then we'll go into the writing, which is I think the coolest part of this record. So production, I'm gonna give it a great for now. It might grow on me in the future. There's a lot of great instrumentation, and there's a lot of great samples. Listening to it with my mom was really cool, because there's a lot of stuff that she recognized as older R&B tropes, and there was even the rap songs on here Yeah Yeah, and the one with Amaretta, had really great beats. That being said, as I mentioned in the Do Something video, some of it still feels like that very empty new age R&B that's very hollow and commercialized, and so that's personally just not something that I gravitate towards nearly as much as more full, luscious, and either old school and or experimental production. And so while I do feel like the production was very, very strong, uh, I don't personally gravitate towards that kind of R&B production, and so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a grade. Still very cohesive, very dynamic, and every beat definitely went with every song. Um, Another thing I'm gonna go ahead and give a grade to is the flows. I felt like she had a myriad of different performances on here. Uh, from the more rippity rap songs as Yeah Yeah, No Time, and Stubborn, but we also had some slower paced tracks such as Way Too Far, Do Something, Act Like You Know, and Safety Net. So there was a myriad of different performances on here that were really, really good. That being said, I don't feel like and her softer voice very much lends itself to this more sensual, more intimate style of music that she's presenting. So I feel like her voice definitely went with the theme of the album. That being said, I think specifically from a tempo perspective, there wasn't a huge amount of variation. And I think the flow switches that she did have, and the impressive vocal inflections that she had on things like Yeah Yeah and No Time, damn, to me were those subtle vocal inflections were somewhat canceled out by the definitely mediocre singing performances that she had on songs like Drunk. And so yeah, overall, still great flows, a lot of dynamic performances, and yeah, overall great. So now let's talk a little bit about the features. And honestly, I got to give this a perfect. One of the things, and y'all have probably heard me say this a bunch, is that when artists are going to make a deviation to a new sound, my favorite thing is when they use the features to assist them in creating their vision. I love when Yachty did it, of course. You know what I mean? I love when TJ did it on his record. And especially for Lady London, who is more known for her ability as a rapper and doesn't always have the vocal chops, an R&B centric album would have been it is a bit of a leap, right? And so she absolutely enlisted the help that she needed to make sure that this album, the quality of it was as good as it needed to be, and more importantly, that the vision that she had for the project was fulfilled completely. You have songs with Capella Gray, you have songs with Tink, you have songs with Jeremiah, all three providing incredible choruses that, again, sort of help with this very intimate vibe that the album gives off. And speaking earlier to her flows, then you have her vocal tone on the you know on the beat, which basically makes for this like dang near R&B esque song that still is still adhering to the nature of hip hop, and it's really incredible. I feel like no one had a weak verse. The other thing I wanted to mention was, on top of the people doing great choruses and things of that nature, she also did something which I don't think gets talked about enough, which is that she dropped like what should have been like that a lot of an ego that a lot of artists have. So basically, like, one of the things that's always really annoying is like when artists are coming up with a new sound or they have their own personal niche, uh, other artists will occupy that niche just because of how stratified hip hop is nowadays. Lady London definitely occupies, that like the more lyrical underground, but with this, feminine twist on the music. And she got people such as Amaretta and Dreezy, which occupy the very niche that she is like learning to fill. And yet, rather than like trying to push them away for the sake of like, oh, I'm in competition with them, I can't be with them, whoopty whoop, she got both of them on the album. And I don't think that was an accident or a coincidence. I think it was probably very intentional that she got people who could keep up with her lyrically, right? Because that's another thing that certain people will do is they'll get features that make them look better as artists. No, she got people who could hang with her lyrically, and it made for incredible rap songs that contribute to the more dynamic nature of this record, where it's not like, say, certain records where, you know, okay, cool, the R&B cuts are cool, but the rap tracks are mid, or vice versa. No, the R&B tracks are stingers and bangers because of the effort that she put into those. But then the rap tracks, because of who she equipped, she gets pushed by them, they get pushed by her. It's really incredible. I particularly like Yeah Yeah, like every, like, just line after line of like sassy bars that really encapsulate the nature of desiring a casual relationship, whether or not the other person is here for that or not. I think is so, it was really, really good. It was really, really good. Now let's get into the writing, which I'm going to give a perfect two. I was thinking about whether or not I was going to give this an amazing or a perfect, but given how well she stayed on theme and the lack of flaws in her writing, I gotta tip my hat to this, honestly. So, the way that this album worked, I watched a little bit of the trailer, and from what I understand, she very much community sourced the album to a certain extent. Like, obviously, that she hasn't gone on a date or dated every single person in, like, it for every zodiac sign. So, you know, you can tell that she's pulling experiences from some people. And so what it is basically is a diatribe on both the qualities of each zodiac sign, or the qualities that tend to go with each zodiac sign, as well as what it's like dealing with the pitfalls and strengths of each zodiac sign. And I particularly liked the Leo song, of course, you know, I gotta run my stuff, but I particularly liked it because not only is it a Leo, you know, it's a song about Leos, but it interplays, you know, her nature as a Cancer, and how, because she mentioned, you know, in the song before, that Cancers are people who like love and give a lot and are very self-sacrificing in their nature. And so the interplay of how, and however, the pitfall of that is that you can, you know, when you give someone so much of your love, you can and sacrifice a lot, and the person doesn't always like give back in the way that you expect, you can feel somewhat responsible for their growth, right? Which isn't a great mentality to have, but it's a mentality that's very much understandable in the context of, you know, this project. And so she then describes, you know, the Leo as somebody who has got a very boisterous exterior, but definitely has a very soft interior that still needs to be nurtured and protected. And so and of course, being the Cancer that she is, she's willing to protect that Leo, that like protect, you know, that Leo. However, you know, she feels somewhat responsible for the growth that person has seen because of her self-sacrificing nature. Things like that, I think, are really, really cool through lines, and I think it's really impressive that she took the time to flesh those concepts out. Like I said, this isn't like this isn't even really me like reaching. Like I'll put some lyrics up on the screen, but you can clearly see that she identifies the softer side of the Leo slash sort of the nature of the interior versus exterior, as well as how she feels responsible for the growth of the Leo in her relationship. Top it off with an incredible chorus by Capella Gray, and that is one of the best songs on the album. Not only that, but while she has those more deep, sort of more like lyrically focused tracks that have concepts behind them, she also just has her bar songs, like what I referred to earlier with Yeah Yeah. Even an argumentative track similar to something like We Cry Together with No Time, where she just goes off on this dude and they're going back and forth in a lyrical sparring match that fully rhymes, connects, and makes sense. And it makes for really an interesting dynamic that's being presented. So overall, the reason why I give this a perfect is because there was a myriad of different performances, from bar heavy songs to deep themes and messaging, or to complex themes, to creative feats of writing that are all executed very, very well, right? And then finally, the musical execution. I'm gonna give this an amazing. Uh, like I said earlier, I wasn't crazy about the production. At least at the current moment, it might grow on me at some point, but at the current moment, I'm not crazy about the production. But other than that, there was pretty much not a single miss in terms of choruses on this record. The rapping was top tier. There was nothing that takes you out of the moment. It was really a full embrace, song to like from song to song. And the album listen is not too long, and so it's really actually easy to get through, easy to listen to, with a lot to pull from. And so overall, even as a casual listen, I think that there's still a lot to take from this. On top of the mixing between some of the more older school R&B aesthetics on something like Way Too Far, and then some of the newer school R&B aesthetics on something like Do Something, there really was something for everybody on this record, and I thought that that was a really impressive feat. So yeah, overall, I really, really enjoyed this project. I don't know where it's gonna rank, but it's definitely gonna be in the upper echelon. This is one of the best debut albums I've ever heard in my life, and I am so, so happy for Lady London that she found a really impressive way to break the niche of just being sort of this cannabis-esque, like, great lyricist, no songs, and really come out with an album that is emblematic of somebody with an incredible artistic vision. So yeah, hope y'all enjoyed this review. Let me know what y'all thought of the album in the comment section below. And with that being said, peace, y'all.